Well,
Welcome to the Radio Horror Show tonight here at WCW, but also this will be on the YouTube channel if you don't able to catch it now that the streaming service is up and running at WCW. Tonight, the music you're going to be hearing through the course of the second half of the show will be from the score for the new Nosferatu music. I have played the scores for both the 1922 and the 1970s version. I don't have this one on vinyl. We are playing it off the internet. But joining me for this review, please introduce yourself, Mark.
I'm Mark Krawczyk, or Mark the Movie Man. I've been doing YouTube reviews for 18 years, podcasting for 11 years with the Spoiler Room podcast, and yeah, interviews, festivals. I love movies. Most of my stuff on my channel is movie-related content, and I'm just very happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for joining me at the last minute for this. You were recommended by a mutual friend of ours, Stacy, who's a writer and horror connoisseur herself.
Yeah, Stacy, I met actually when doing a review for, well, we met through a mutual friend, and then she had her film, and I did the review for that and did some interviews, and then yeah, we've talked ever since. So yeah, Stacy's really cool. She really likes the horror, so as do I. I enjoy the horror. I focus on independent horror mostly on my Final Cut movie review show. So
Cool. Well, this is
yeah.
going to be a series of all the Nosferatu films. I'm reviewing them. Coming up in a couple weeks, we're going to doing these kind of reverse just because of how they're getting recorded. So I'm starting with the most recent one. I'm also reviewing Doug Jones's Nosferatu film. I've also reviewed the 1970s Nosferatu and its weird sequel, Vampire in Venice, which the co-host on that didn't even wasn't even aware was a film. I was just like, oh yes, the vampire lived and went to Venice. The movie is absolute garbage. Don't go watch my review of it, but it has a great 2 hour documentary about the about Klaus Kinski if you ever want to know more about who that guy was. But we're talking about the 2024 film, which came out on Christmas Day, from the director of The Witch and The Lighthouse and The Northman. This stars Lily Rose Depp, William Dafoe, Nicholas Holt, and Bill
Craven.
Skarsgård as Count
Yeah.
Orlok with a mustache, by the way.
Yes.
Very strange. I thought it was really I thought it was somebody in front of me was just like he didn't know who Nicholas Holt was, and I was like, that guy has blown up in the last year. Go watch Juror number 2, and then sit back and wait to see what looks like possibly could be one of the best Lex Luthors we've ever seen coming up soon in Superman Legacy. I'm still calling it Superman Legacy. I don't care what anyone else says.
No,
So, Lily Rose
I've
Depp, all I know her from is Yoga Hosers. So
yoga hosers. Yep.
this was a very adult role for her compared to Yoga Hosers.
It's a jump. It was definitely a jump, but she handled it, I thought, extremely well, considering the size and hype of this film.
Right.
I think she did well for what, what she had to do in this movie.
Correct. And also, for anyone not aware, Bill, of course, his brother was in The Northman, which is funny. Um, you know, what's the brother's name from True Blood?
Oh, yeah, Skarsgård is his last name. I forgot. There's so many of them.
Yes. And then, of course, William Dafoe, for a lot of people not aware watching this, William Dafoe played Max Shrek in a documentary fake movie biography sort of. It's hard to describe what it is, but it's the making of the original Nosferatu from 1922, asking the question, what if Max Shrek was actually a vampire? And
yes.
William Dafoe played him in that movie 24 years ago. That film came out. Nicolas Cage produced film, bizarre film starring John Malkovich as the director, F.W. Murnau, and still never released on Blu-ray and 4K. It's got a weird distribution about it, but FYI, it was the film that Sam Raimi watched and said that is who's going to play the Green Goblin before they turned the Green Goblin into the Power Ranger-looking villain they did for the Spider-Man movie. But I digress. So, what did you think of this version of Nosferatu? Its highs, its lows, and its ridiculously long runtime.
Well, I've been an Eggers fan. I love The Vitch. I just adored that film quite a bit. It just caught me off guard, blew me away. Black Phillip, the whole 9 yards. And the Norseman, the Northman, I enjoyed not quite as much as The Witch, and this one I enjoyed maybe a little less than the Northman, only because it hits so many familiar beats with me. I know it's telling the same story, but at the same time, it was just a little bit too familiar with me. I love the style. I mean, Eggers captures the period, I think, extremely well. Their production design, either costuming, the sets, everything, it felt like a period piece. And all the pieces were there as far as the look. And I think everybody's performance was well done too. But it's just this story, this screenplay really felt like someone needed to go through and redline a few pages out of it because it gets a little repetitive in some parts. And it's just one of those things where I enjoyed it. I wasn't blown away though, because I was hoping for something at least a little bit new. And by the time we do get that near the end where things just ramp up and go crazy, it was just like, oh, we're getting to the end now. I'm kind of happy for that. And I feel bad because I like Eggers' work, but there was something with this one where I was just like, yeah, that was decent. But, I wasn't like, wow, that was amazing, like some of my friends have been. And I'm just not sure which movie I'm watching.
I feel like a lot of people are like, this is the best film of the year, and this is the Oscar film of the year. And people are like, I will have no arguments. This movie is stylishly beautiful and everything regarding it. I'm like, yes, there's no argument. It is stylishly beautiful. The black and white to make it look like a black and white silent film is actually incredible. I just have a big problem with the runtime. It slowed down tremendously. I don't care they reinvented what Counter Warlock looks like. That is 100% fine. It's the fifth version we've seen of this character twice in the same year, FYI. For anyone not familiar with Doug Jones's film, which took 8 years to get made, by the way, replacing everyone in the film with the actors of modern day, like Doug Jones himself. So, and Doug has even said, "Go out and see that movie. Go see ours, but go out and see that movie too." So, I mean, he's a guy who obviously is never going to be like, oh darn it, it came out the same year as that big budget Hollywood film. Um, it honestly, I thought Christmas was going to be the death of this film, but apparently
Yeah.
Christmas Day, theaters said they were actually very well packed for this film. And it wasn't just the typical "the Jews go to the movies" kind of joke. No, it was a culturally diverse of people. They said who went to see this movie. Christians and Jews and Muslims and Hebrew and Buddhists all came together to go see Nosferatu. And that is a quote from one of the theater ushers at my local theater, by the way. So
Nice.
to go see a good old fashioned vampire movie on I almost said Halloween, on Christmas. But the day I went, which was the 26th of December,
Mhm.
packed. We had to sit on top of other people. It was crazy. I was kind of hoping people would like move down or whatever when the movie started, so we weren't so close to everyone else. Not a big COVID thing, but just kind of like I just hate sitting in a cramped theater. I haven't had to do it in years, obviously, but I digress. I had my popcorn bucket with me. I actually bought it at another theater because I wasn't sure my theater was going to have it, and I see it up there. By the way, are you going to spend 20 grand on an actual coffin?
No, I'm not going to spend. I mean, I know some people, if I had won the Mega Millions, there'd be signs, and one of them would be, yes, I would have that coffin bed. But no, I, I'm not going to spend that much on that. But the tin came in handy. Actually, it's a nice tin. It's actually one of the better gimmick tins. They gave ours was only $20, and that came with a popcorn and a soda. So it was
Oh,
like,
nice. Did you get the
yeah.
rat too?
Yeah, we didn't have the rat. We just had the tin. So,
Okay.
but
So there's the reviews on my YouTube channel just before this video. It's hit about 16,000 views. So it's done extremely well, especially for my channel. And I immediately got the popcorn bucket and then gave the bucket of popcorn to my kid because we were out doing Christmas shopping when I got it on this past, like a week ago from today, this past Sunday, just before the movie. But it did come in absolutely handy. I also thought the tray, so you could pass the tray on to someone else, so you didn't have to hold the bucket and pass it back and forth. The tray acts as its own little like tray
right.
bucket because I gave the bucket to my girlfriend, and then I had the actual tray itself. So
Nice. Well, it works out then. It works out. Yeah,
definitely.
no, I'm not too big on the gimmick popcorn buckets. I'm just kicking myself for missing out on the Batman signal one. But I digress. But yeah, Nosferatu, it's just
I
like,
did get the Batman one, by the way.
oh, did you? Oh, lucky. Lucky. Yeah, this film though, it was one of those where the way some people were talking about, we were the same way. We caught it the next day after Christmas and our theater was packed, but it was done on one of the small screens. They didn't even have it on one of the mega screens, and I think I was missing some things because it almost looked like some things were almost old school pan and scan. I'm looking at this going, I have a feeling this shot's supposed to be wider than this. And it felt like it was like digitally moved. I don't know if it was just because it was a smaller screen, I noticed things more, but yeah, technical aspects, this thing is wonderful and one of the better technical films, I think, as far as special effects, production design, all of that. Even the music, music's wonderful. I'll be getting the soundtrack hopefully when they offer it on vinyl, if it isn't out already, because I'm a big vinyl head as well. I collect a lot of vinyl, and yeah, I enjoyed the music quite a bit. It was just the story, the spine of this film didn't give me much.
I'm gonna say that the best performance of the film, Lily Rose Depp, I think is really great, but
Mhm.
it's gonna go to William Dafoe just because I mean it's William Dafoe. He is incredible as the Van Helsing character in the film. We get our Renfield Knock character. We have our Jonathan Harker, who's Nicholas Holt. We have our Lily. We have Lily as our Mina and our Lucy. Um, it I've heard from more than one person say that they would just prefer to watch Bram Stoker's Dracula for a
Mm.
sexually charged kind of like horror movie because this is what this is. They One person I remember hearing saying that this is movie everyone in this movie is so horny as much as they were in Francis Ford Coppola's film. And I believe that to be true. The thing is, though, I can see myself falling in love with Gary Oldman. I can't see myself falling in love with Count Orlok. He's disgusting no matter what. Uh, did we ever get a close up of his teeth or whatever? Because he leaves the teeth marks, but really the Bugs Bunny teeth.
Uh, we don't get a close up. I mean, you see it in the shadows. You get like a medium and a headshot of sorts of him, and you can kind of see it, but we don't get like a direct look at his teeth. We're always seeing it after he bites someone.
Correct. And what were your thoughts and opinions on his new design? Because let's face it, we've had three films and an entire role-playing live-action game dedicated to this look of Nosferatu. By that I mean Vampire the Masquerade from White Wolf Gaming has an entire clan of vampires that you can become that. I don't know about you, but if I ever get bitten by a vampire, I don't want to become a Nosferatu vampire. I'd rather become like a Venture or a Tremere or a Bruja, something a little bit more pretty, something a little easier on the eyes than having all my hair fall out and look like one of the creatures from Guillermo del Toro's vampires.
Yeah,
Speaking of the strain.
I liked Orlok's look. I liked that he looked more monstrous. As far as his look, and some people complained about the hat and the mustache. I'm like, that's because Eggers is trying to give a little ode to the actual Vlad the Impaler. He looked very much like, I mean, we only usually see his look only in the shadows and that nothing really in the bright light for obvious reasons, but just from what you can tell, it almost looks like he was going for implying that he is more closer to Vlad the Impaler in this, who has just over the years, mutated and disfigured because he's been alive for so long, and that he's just turned into this monster vampire. And it's funny because everybody talks about the eroticism and how horny this film is. Maybe it's just because I wasn't fully into the film, but I didn't quite feel it. I mean, the imagery was there, but at the same time, I'm like, okay. I was like, none of this was really felt to be, spicy or intimate. I mean, everybody was going through the motions, but I was just like, okay. And maybe it's because it's a familiarity of the story. It hits so many beats of like the Coppola especially film, and we just saw the Demeter. We just saw the voyage of the Demeter this past year as well, with what happens on the boat for the whole movie,
Hmm.
and so it's just one of those things where I think it was so familiar to me that I was kind of hoping for something different, And since I didn't quite get that, except for maybe Defoe's character, it didn't fully engage me. Again, I didn't hate it. I didn't regret seeing it. I enjoyed a lot of it, but at the same time, it was like this feels like more of the same to me.
Now I'm back. Sorry about
No
that.
worries.
One of the things I thought that the film really captured the most was the entire look of the original film was
Hmm.
really well captured
Yeah.
in so many ways that I wasn't expecting. I was not expecting to be so black and white. I mean, we all saw that trailer shot of the hand coming over, Germany. I thought was
Hmm.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Eggers, if anything, Eggers captures period better than any, I think, modern director. Whoever he has for this production design, which I think it's the same folks, he has an eye for capturing period to make you feel like you're actually in that period. And I think that's one of his big strengths is that, and even the dialogue. Trying to go for more period accurate dialogue in general. So as far as all of those angles go, I think he does fantastic and probably one of the best at it. You know,
Well, Mark, thank you for joining me for this review to talk about Nosferatu, the remake of the 1922 version. With I feel like the horniness of the Klaus Kinski version. Because let's face it, the Klaus Kinski version had nudity, and so did this. So
that's
that's where I
true.
think they
That's
drew
true.
that inspiration from to be like, that for Herzog film that had something going for it. Let's throw that into Lily's contract. Uh, um, I was very happy to see the death of certain things you don't get to see the death of in a film because sometimes they
Mhm.
shy away from certain deaths in films, and I was more than happy to see that happen. I was just like, look at that. That's how you get your R rating.
And that it was one of the best shots too. That shot is effective. It's emotional. It's everything you want from that scene for your Count Orlok character to get the idea across just how
Absolutely,
nasty
absolutely.
he is. So,
Also, it redeems Aaron Johnson from his debacle early in the month of Craven the Hunter, so he's got a much better film now in theaters with Nosferatu. So
yeah, he's ending on a strong note.
definitely, definitely. Mark, where can people find you?
Specialmarkproductions.com for all your movie man needs. It's where it's got links for my YouTube, my podcast, Patreon, written reviews I do, all of that. Like I said, I'm kind of old man of the stream. I've been here quite a bit time. So, but yeah, specialmarkproductions.com gives you links to all of that.
And you can find me over on my radio show where this is going to be airing, Radio Horror, Sunday nights from 10 to 12. Otherwise, you can find me on my own vampire production, the Vampire Movie Minute podcast, where we break down a vampire movie 5 minutes at a time. And we're currently on From Dusk Till Dawn and ending From Dusk Till Dawn in about March, as we will be switching over to My Best Friend is a Vampire, so jumping back to the 80s. Thank you, everyone.
Nice.
Check out the rest of the videos here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel and the rest of the parts of this Nosferatu series covering all of the different Nosferatu films, as well as my review of the Popcorn Bucket, which is above Mark's head.